Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Diane Parker. Miller has the stormy forecast, plus a mask mandate in another national park in Montana. But first, our top stories. A man who worked at the Flathead County Solid Waste District died this weekend at the Flathead County landfill. Officials say Jeff Kruckenberg was driving on Disposal Road toward Highway 93 Saturday when the accident happened. He suffered life-threatening injuries and later passed away. He had worked for the district for 25 years. Montana Highway Patrol and the Montana Department of Labor are investigating. In Billings, this week's fatal stabbing on South 27th Street is being investigated as self-defense. 24-year-old Jessie Gardapi was taken to the hospital Sunday night where she died from her stab wounds. Police say they believe they know the people involved but haven't arrested anyone because the suspect was likely defending themselves. In Illinois, the suspect accused of carrying out the July 4th mass shooting showed no emotion as he made his first court appearance. 21-year-old Robert Cremo is charged with 7 counts of first-degree murder with more charges pending. Police say he confessed to shooting during the questioning and he considered attacking another parade in Madison, Wisconsin. He's being held without bond. Top U.S. officials are scheduled to tour repair progress in Yellowstone National Park this week following devastating flooding. Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland and Assistant Secretary for Fish, Wildlife and Parks Shannon Estenzo are scheduled to visit Friday. Meanwhile, if you are visiting the park, you must wear a mask at all indoor facilities. The mandate was just issued as COVID-19 cases are on the rise. In Helena, a portion of Front Street is closed after flash flooding this week. City staff are assessing damage in the downtown area and say the soil underneath the street is settling, causing damage. Following recent flooding and hail, Montana's insurance commissioner says residents are already being scammed by criminals disguising themselves as legitimate contractors. The commissioner says never give money up front or sign a contract without properly vetting a potential repair company. If they aren't licensed to do business in the state, don't hire them. Kenny Chesney is performing at Bobcat Stadium this Saturday. This after having to cancel his planned Bozeman concert twice due to COVID-19 spikes. 24,000 fans are expected. This 76-million-year-old dinosaur skeleton was discovered in 2018 in the Judith River Formation near Havre. It will be auctioned by Sotheby's and is expected to fetch as much as $8 million. And that's a look at today's headlines on the Noon News. Let's go ahead and send it over to Miller for a look at the forecast.
Coming off a very eventful yesterday in terms of strong to severe thunderstorms, we're looking at the possibility again today. But let's just backtrack. This is what it looked like over the last 24 hours. You can see just all across Montana, we had definitely some strong winds. We had some really large hail in spots, and we even had the possibility of a tornado. Now you can see up there in Rainsford, is at Stanford, also in Windham, we saw some funnel clouds aloft. But Skull Butte, a weak tornado possibly touching down on the ground very briefly. No reports of any damage, so that's good news. Unfortunately, as we take a look at today and our outlook, there's a chance of more tornado activity. We'll talk about that with the main forecast coming up.
Businesses in Gardner are inviting Montanans to travel to the town for a summer staycation. This as the nearby entrance to Yellowstone is still closed. MTN's Jane McDonald takes us to the flood-impacted community.
It's been very grim, very stressful, a lot of tears. Yeah. The worst photos were taken, and video clips, and people thought, well, that's Gardner. So they canceled.
A record speed of water flow for the Yellowstone, and it didn't take long for the cancellations to roll in to Yellowstone Raft Company.
That has wiped away all of our business. We're running about 10% right now.
On a typical summer day at the Gateway, the Raft Company can see 20, even 30 boats take to the river. Now only 3 or 4 head into the water.
With the entrance closed to general public, people aren't interested. and coming to our town. We've actually had people on the phone telling us our town is in shambles, even though we live here. How is our business going to look? Is this the end of our summer?
And for Sarah and her husband, this is not the first time Gardner or their raft company faced adversity.
We have been through, of course, everyone, the pandemic.
Just a couple of years ago, everything right behind me was on fire, including
Our Yellowstone Raft Company building. We lost in a fire on July 14th of 2020.
So how does the flood stack up to the past hardships of Gardner?
So it's had a huge impact on us. It's actually worse, way worse than COVID, way worse.
Quiet streets, empty parking spaces, and a lonely gate to the park. But like before, the community remains resilient and looking toward the future.
And trying to do the best to promote it positively, you know, as a day tour, as a staycation for our local Montanans. We would love to have people come. Gardner is amazing, wonderful, wonderful town to raise children, have a business. I highly encourage anybody to come visit our small mountain town.
In Gardner, Jane McDonald, MTN News.
The community of Gardner wasn't spared from the devastating floods, but there is one place where residents can go to alleviate their stress. The Yellowstone Hot Springs is chock full of soothing minerals, and though they were affected by the floods, the springs are back and open for business.
It's a place you might miss if you're not looking for it.
It's gorgeous. It's like mountain views, pool views, a spectacular landscape.
Located right off US 89 in Gardner, Yellowstone Hot Springs is owned by Church Universal and Triumphant and has only been open since 2019.
The water is actually pumped to us from the Leduc Hot Springs about a mile and a half down the road.
It comes out at about 155 degrees. The hot springs has a flow system where the water empties out into the Yellowstone River.
So we cannot use chemicals, there is no chlorine, there is no bleach.
That means there's a whole new pool every 8 hours. But the property wasn't spared from the floods. Their cabins, RV park, and camping sites were hit the hardest.
We did lose 13 of our RV sites to the raging waters.
The hot springs were safe, and the establishment lent out their running water and showers to the residents of Gardner.
We also lowered our prices to kind of help the folks who are suffering in Park County.
Right now, it only costs $10 for adults to soak in the springs all day. And that's not the only way they're trying to help the community.
Mother Nature left us an amazing beach that we didn't have before. So now we are partnering with 2 different raft companies from Gardner because their landing spot was washed away.
There are 3 pools at the Yellowstone Hot Springs, hot, warm, and cold. Good for visitors like Johanna Lindstrom, who came all the way from Seattle.
I really like how they have the hot and the cold pool, and I usually go in and out of both, and it's really nice to just switch around.
They're also the only hot springs that has a Connect walk in the country. One side's hot and one side's cold.
There's river rock on the bottom. As you walk from hot to cold, it does what's called pleasant thermal shock.
The water shocks the body almost immediately while microcurrents travel up towards the head. This helps stimulate blood circulation.
We found that walking around 7 times hot, cold, 7 times, by the 7th time, if you have a headache, it's gone. If you have a migraine headache, gone.
That's not the only thing unique about Yellowstone Hot Springs.
What makes this an exceptional hot springs are the jets.
Ronald says the high pressure of the jets combined with the minerals washes away any kind of pain. And while you're soaking, it's a good chance to see some wildlife.
We've got bighorn sheep across the river, eagles flying over, elk walking through every day.
And visitors have not been disappointed.
Honestly, 10 out of 10, and I've been to a lot.
Hot Springs are the best.
In Gardner, Alina Howder, MTN News.